got this from the Post Millennial. Rep. Ilhan Omar advises Somali immigrants not to comply with ICE deportations. We then have this video from Libs of TikTok. Rep. Dan Goldman is now putting out videos in Chinese instructing illegal aliens how to evade ICE. Why is he trying to protect Chinese murderers, spies, and criminals who are in our country illegally? Well, let me show you this. This is 1907, Title 8 USC 1324A offenses, which includes something called encouraging or inducing, subsection 1324A1A4, makes it an offense for any person who encourages or induces an alien to come to, enter, or reside in the United States, knowing or in reckless disregard of the fact that such coming to, entry, or residence is or will be in violation of the law. In other words, Rep. Dan Goldman, AOC, Ilhan Omar, and many other Democrats are quite literally violating a federal law which has a penalty for inducement of up to 5 years in prison. So I really doubt the DOJ is going to come after these people and put them in prison.
It would be
But they're quite literally breaking federal law by doing this. And so my question to all of you as we jump into this story, what happens if we don't enforce this law and we tell Democrats as a large political class, you can break it?
Well, it's arguable if they are breaking. So, for example, if they are saying, and this goes out to all my illegal immigrant friends out there, and I'm telling you this, that would probably be breaking the law. But if they're saying, hey, a lot of, people who aren't illegals, people who are maybe asylum people and other various like legal status, migrants are getting caught up in this sort of stuff, and they're telling it for those people, and maybe it could apply to illegals, that would not necessarily be illegal.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if that's actually the case or not. And I'm not sure exactly how they're articulating, like what they're actually saying. There are people that are saying, oh, well, if they're just informing people of their right to remain silent, that's not illegal. And I'm not so sure that it isn't, because these people are residing here. Good.
Let's just take a pause real quick. If a guy walked into a bank and went to the teller and said, can you please, with expedience, empty out that drawer and fill this sack up for me? When the police show up to arrest him for bank robbery and he goes, I wasn't robbing them. I just asked them if they would give me their money. And they said, yes. Do you think that's going to fly in court?
That particular circumstance, probably not. But
so the issue at play is the question is going to be, do Ilhan Omar and does AOC and Dan Goldman know that the information they are giving specifically is aiding and abetting illegal immigrants? And I think any reasonable person would be like, well, of course they're talking about illegal immigrants. ICE isn't going after legal immigrants.
No, but they've been citing cases where that has been the case. And a lot of the people that they're saying, for example...
I'm going to pause. Do you actually believe that AOC, Goldman, and Omar are specifically trying to inform legal residents of the United States their legal rights?
I think in their opinion, a lot of them are, for example, the Haitian stuff. I'll give you, the Haitian stuff. When Trump was citing the Haitian migrants in Ohio and everything, a lot of people on the Republican side are saying those are illegal migrants. The Democrats are like, no, those people came in through legal programs, whatever. I think a lot of us would argue, well, those were under the Biden administration. They made illegal immigration.
I understand
legal.
That.
So there is a distinction.
Do you actually think that Ilhan Omar, in this story specifically, is looking at legally residing Somali migrants?
It's not about what you think. It's about what you can prove in court.
And that's my point. So when you say it's questionable as to whether they broke the law, sure, but it doesn't matter. Because I think any reasonable person knows they're not talking about legal residents who are scared of ICE. Because if you're a legal resident and ICE shows up to you, say, here's my green card, here's my ID, what's the problem? They say, have a nice day. When they're saying don't talk to them, that advice only applies to someone who does not have legal status.
I mean, that's what I would say. I think they're doing it for illegals, but I'm just saying from a prosecutorial perspective.
I think it depends on your jurisdiction. If you go to New York, the jury is going to say, can we nullify this because we want illegal immigrants here? But I'm
not so sure about that in New York.
Well, fair point. Now it's really this simple. If you had a jury of 12 individuals of regular random people and said, do you genuinely believe that when Dan Goldman spoke Mandarin, advising people how to avoid ICE and immigration enforcement, do you believe his intention was to provide relevant legal information to legally residing Americans, no one says yes.
Well, I got to push a little on it, even unfortunately, because I'm enjoying this. It's like people saying, don't talk to the cops. Even if you're done nothing wrong, don't talk to the cops. And this might be a similar, like you could argue this is a similar thing.
I think
it is not, because first, when it comes to telling someone don't talk to the cops, that's a general broad statement that applies to all Americans of all status, whether they've committed crimes or not. When you say specifically immigrations and customs enforcement is coming to deport illegal immigrants, if they approach you, do not talk to them. We are talking about people who are actively committing a crime, and you advising them on how to avoid, which is specifically codified in laws, inducing them to reside in this country. If you went to someone, so there are other questions in other crimes being committed. If someone had a bag of drugs on them and you said, you've got drugs on you? Yo, bro, you got crack and cocaine? That's a felony. They're going to catch you, and when they do, you will go to prison. Let me give you some advice to help you avoid law enforcement. You can actually get in trouble for that.
Yep.
If you're a lawyer and you said, look, and now actually there's an interesting question about, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if you guys know this. If a person is actively in the process of committing a crime and you're a lawyer, is the lawyer required to report that?
I would hope they would.
I think I don't know. It's so lawyers are, so if you're a criminal, legit criminal, and you tell your lawyer, yes, I committed that crime, the lawyer can't, I'm pretty sure the lawyers aren't supposed to go out and say, but I don't know though. I don't know. That could be wrong. Like, I know therapists have to report it, but the issue at play here, there's specifically a law saying encouragement or inducement to reside illegally in the U.S. or with reckless disregard as to whether it would be legal or not. It's very broad. But I think it's fair to say we understand what these Democrats are doing. Trump is going after violent criminals, people who already broke the law, and Democrats are saying we will provide you with materials to avoid detection, inducing them to reside here.
Well, in your drug example, I'm not sure, but I don't think it would be illegal to say, look, you just inform someone of their rights, even though you know they might have committed a crime. Like, you're allowed to inform people of their rights. But if you said, for example, if your way of helping them is, hey, if you go hide in these specific locations or you do this or that, that's probably illegal. But if you would just inform people of their rights when it comes to dealing with law enforcement, I don't think that would necessarily constitute a crime.
I do think lawyers are required to report if their clients are actively committing crimes.
Well, I think they're still allowed to represent them. It's just the argument has to change. So it's like, if your client murdered someone, you would say, yes, he killed, this individual, but you have to you say there's like a mitigating circumstance and you try to get a lower sentence, or maybe not guilty by reason of insanity. I don't know. Like,
the thing here is that I think they're obfuscating really hard with the immigrants versus illegal immigrants. Even in this post-millennial article, they're saying Somali immigrants. So if they're not talking to illegals, I don't know what the exact argument would be. Here's the thing. None of us are lawyers, but I'll tell you who is one. Dan Goldman. He graduated from Stanford, and he was actually one of the impeachment prosecutors, I think, for one of the Trump cases. So I'm sure this guy knows what he's doing. The thing too here is that it's a total virtue signal. I don't think anybody's reading Dan Goldman's Chinese tweet about who is a Chinese person in Chinatown and using that information to try to avoid police. And I have full confidence in our police and ICE service members that they will be able to get the job done, despite, Ilhan Omar giving hints about, not opening the door or what have you.
And what actually helps their defense is how kind of alarmist they've been with their language, saying Trump's going to deport everyone who's an immigrant, not even stipulating illegal or whatever. They're just like, if you're just brown in America, they want to deport you and kill you. So that would probably help them in a court of law.
I would need to hear specifics about what Ilhan said in this instance for this to see, did she incite them to continue to break the law? Did she focus on
there's a
illegal?
quote right there. They have it.
I advise the Somalian people that if ICE attempts to question you, you are not obligated to answer the question.
That's a legal statement.
That's like a don't talk to cops type statement.
But right, and so there's a difference in that. It is codified as a crime to induce someone to reside illegally in the U.S. That's the distinction. It is not codified anywhere that inducing someone, telling someone drugs are cool or whatever. I'm pretty sure it's not illegal, giving your opinion on those things. But if someone is not a legal resident here and you are telling them they can stay, here's how you avoid detection from law enforcement, that may be inducement under the law.
Yeah, that's illegal.
In these instances, it's
Well, I mean, everything is may because you have to prove it in a court.
Well, no, we actually don't know if doing this particular thing would be like, even if it was just outright, like I am informing illegal immigrants of their rights when it comes to law enforcement. I still don't think that necessarily would be illegal.
Oh yeah, but if she said illegal immigrants should reside, like if she starts to tell
This is
Oh,
why
that's an
they never
opinion.
say
You
the
can
word
have that
illegal.
opinion.
This is why they say when Trump is like, "There's violent criminals who enter the country illegally," they go, "Trump hates immigrants."
But that was one 8 U.S. Code 1324 is what you were talking about, right, Tim? Because
Yeah.
yes. So it says any person who encourages or induces an alien to come to enter or reside in, encourages to reside in.
or induces.
That's not giving someone legal advice when it comes to their rights, when it comes to law enforcement, is not you necessarily encouraging them to reside in the United States. It might have the effect of them residing if they're successful or whatever, but it doesn't, like, that's more of a matter of process.
So all the NGOs. Here's the thing.
yeah.
The bus drivers in Arizona that were loading up with illegal immigrants and bringing them in, they need to go to prison.
Oh, this is interesting because people are terrified of political retribution right now, and we got to be real specific. Like prosecutorial discretion's key.
Donald Trump and the DOJ needs to find those bus drivers that were ferrying illegal immigrants into the country, and they knew they were because James O'Keefe exposed them, and put them in prison.
I would, if they were doing it still, I would agree on the spot. But because they were doing it under the authority of
No, they
a
knew it was wrong.
president,
Watch the videos from James O'Keefe. They panic when they find out that they have been filmed breaking the law. They knew what they were doing was illegal, and they did it anyway because they got cash for it. Lock them up.
Yep.
I think Tom Homan should take this as a challenge. Hey, whenever
were
you hear
they
Ilhan
illegal or
Omar-
asylum seekers? I don't know.
Well, that's how they try to obfuscate. And then with you were spot on earlier when you mentioned how Joe Biden legalized a lot of citizens. That
I think the
illegal.
the pilots of aircraft who knew they had illegal immigrants on their planes should also be charged.
I mean, it was definitely an unethical thing to do.
It was a fact during the past 4 years that there were commercial flights where pilots knew they were ferrying large amounts of illegal immigrants across the country. You also had the story where into Tennessee, I think it was, they were taking illegal immigrant children, putting them on planes and flying them into various cities. One of the big stories was Westchester, New York. In the middle of the night, illegal immigrants were being ferried into these places, some using government taxpayer money. People flew those planes.
You know, it's very similar.
People serviced those flights, and they should have said no.
Should we criminally charge Greg Abbott for busing all the illegal migrants to New York?
There's a question about that.
That's actually
Between him
not
and
a bad
DeSantis,
point.
bro, I don't like what they're doing here. So
To be fair, they were trying to deport them, and Biden wouldn't let them.
Hey, Tish James, secure our borders here in New York. Mayor Adams is constantly complaining about this. You got to go
Here?
after the guys. What?
Here in New York.
He's from New York.
Oh, yeah.
He's a New Yorker. It's kind of like after the Civil War, they really did kind of have the authority to imprison all those Confederates. All the ones that fought, they could have been like,
Authority?
yeah, like they
won a war.
Insurrection. Like you guys all were part of an insurrection. They could have imprisoned and destroyed.
But let's just pause
Humanity
real quick
across
and make
the
something
South.
clear. The winners of a war do what they want to the losers.
And they could
So we
have
don't need to make
obliterated
this
it.
doesn't need, there's no legal precedent for like it's not a legal codified law issue of when you get to go to war. War happens. And so what you're really saying is the Confederates were conquered and the Union could have done whatever they wanted, as were the words of Ulysses S. Grant when he said, "You have a right to revolt, but when you lose, you will be ruled over by your betters."
So it's a similar, much less magnitude what we're experiencing right now with people that broke the law, escorting illegal migrants across the country and into the country. They were doing, what you could consider after the fact a violation of law, but like, do you prosecute and imprison them all? Because it's similar with the Confederates. You could have really went after them, and they didn't because they wanted reunification.
and give them court supervision.
We're back to the Civil War again.
But here's what happens. They go to court, they stand in front of the jury of their peers, and when they're convicted, the judge says, "We're going to give you court supervision and a $50 fine. You were ferrying illegals, and that's going to be on your record."
Also, the left is going to attempt to impeach Donald Trump again should they take the House in 2 years.
100%.
There will be continuation of lawfare. All the stuff that was happening under Biden's presidency, if a Democrat wins after Donald Trump, all of that stuff's going to go back into effect. So they'll go after the media again. They're going to go after Trump's family. They're going to go after people that are in the Trump administration. They will go after Elon Musk. This is all.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.